Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host Dylan Silver, and today on the show we have Nate Piper. Nate is a real estate professional with over 20 years, 35,000 projects, and over 350 million processed transactions worth of experience in the greater DFW Metroplex, as am I. Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nate, I always like to start off at the top with how folks got into the real estate space. Was it in your blood?
Not really. I mean, I guess I came in through the construction aspect or manual labor that then developed into buying and holding and doing a lot of different real estate deals.
So coming from a construction background, I've seen a couple different paths. Most commonly, people that I've seen go from being a tradesman to then being a general contractor and then realizing I'm doing this for other people, let me do it for myself. Was that similar to your path or different angle?
Yeah, pretty much similar. I just had some different mentors. I kind of grew up with a bunch of uncles that were already a tradesman and they already had their own businesses, and so I got to see it from an early on perspective. So I just kind of fast tracked that a little bit.
So coming out of high school, did you know this was going to be your career?
Oh no. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be an NFL player, and I wanted to go D1, play sports, and have fun. It wasn't until after I graduated. Well, I always kind of worked in the construction industry, but as side jobs and summer jobs and things of that nature. But then went to New York, tried to be a stockbroker. Found out I didn't like the hours or the tie. Hopped back into construction and then led back into real estate, buying and selling and flipping and, having fun.
I'm from a town 27 miles outside of Manhattan called Caldwell, New Jersey.
Okay.
Caldwell, New Jersey, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, pretty far from New York City because you have to go through, I believe it's the Lincoln Tunnel, and it's a hike to get in there. But I'm from that area of the woods. So how long were you in New York for?
Yeah, I made it about 7 months, 6.5.
You knew right away. You said this isn't for me.
No, yeah, it was what I came from Texas, and I went there. It was great, and this was back early '90s. So New York was a phenomenal place to be. It just didn't gel with me and the vibe, and I had a matchbox for a room, and the bathroom was at the end of the hall. I mean, it was like
I know.
100 square feet, maybe. I was in, uptown New York. I was, get up early, shower, and you had to wait in line to get into a shower because all the other people on the floor were all trying to get in the shower at the same time. We were arguing and fighting, and there was always noise and chaos, and I didn't mind all that. It was just being a stockbroker and being on the phone calling everybody, and I was an analyst, right? I was like a junior analyst. I mean, I was just allowed to make the phone calls, make the presentation, and then pass it off for somebody else. So I just didn't like that career. I didn't like wearing the tie. I didn't like working the hours. I didn't like the people I was working with. It just a lot of frustration. And a buddy of mine called me and said, "Hey, a hurricane hit down here in Florida. I need some help. Do you mind coming down for the weekend?" And I said, absolutely. And I went down there and realized that I really loved getting my hands dirty and being a part of it. And I called up my roommate up in New York and I said, "Hey, just mail me my stuff and tell the boss I quit." And that was the end of my journey for trying to be a stockbroker.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Wow. So many thoughts that I have. So I've had other stock brokers on the podcast, and one of the things that I've heard now routinely is they go in with, in a sense, some level of rose-colored glasses because they're thinking, I get to analyze, I get to help people grow their wealth and provide feedback that they might not otherwise have. Of course, in many cases, access to the internet might have been different. And so then they get there and they realize they're really just calling. And in some cases, I've heard this term, like shoving these stocks down people's throats. Was your
Yeah,
experience any of that?
that is exactly the experience. You get a call list, right? And you got to dial every number on the call list before you can leave for the day. And these people don't even want your services. They don't even know who you are. And what it did for me though was that it gave me that that cold call list profession
Nice.
where I'm not scared to go up and talk to anybody or reach out or get rejected or any of those pieces, but it was difficult.
So you get down to Florida, which town I love. Nate, I love Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite. I'm in Denton, Texas, but maybe my favorite town in the country is Fort Lauderdale. So where in Florida were you?
Well, I got stationed down there in the Keys and then moved up into South Miami. So I fell in love with Florida too. I've been all over Florida. But going from New York down to the Keys was a huge transition. It was great. It was flip flops. It was perfect weather. I had to fight off a few alligators, but that's a whole other story. Uh, but it was great. It just, we were working on some beachfront property and just restoring it and had a lot of fun. And I was like, I just don't want to go back to that tie.
So at that point, Nate, I'm imagining 23, 24 years old, somewhere around there, and you have your buddy down there who is getting you into restoring these properties, and you're seeing yourself doing this. You're saying, I want to do this. So what's the
Yeah.
next steps from there?
Well, I ended up just kind of opening up my own restoration business. Now, my buddy, he was, 10, almost 14 years older than me. And so he was already established. He already had his restoration business, but he needed some labor and some hands. And we worked together on some other projects. And so, but he kind of led me in through the investing view of like, hey, look, just because, this thing's destroyed does not mean it's not valuable. And that's what kind of kicked me off to a lot of my fix and flips, where I was able to buy properties and look at properties at a different perspective because most people are saying that this is too much work or this is a destruction or disaster zone. I see dollar bills and cha-ching, cha-ching, and how I can make it work, make it better, and make it reusable. And it got me into a lot of the sustainability processes of being able to like, how do I take something old, refresh it, and make it usable again?
Man, Nate, I'm imagining myself in your shoes. I don't think you could have taken me out of the Keys. I think I would have just stayed there, and I would have, although I love Texas, I would have said, I'll come visit my
Yeah.
friends, but God bless. What a gorgeous area of the country is, as long as there's no, hurricanes down there. So you're down there. You have your own restoration business. Talk about the first deals that you were doing on your own. How did you find these deals? You have a new company, you're a business owner, out of
Yeah.
school, tried one career, realized it wasn't a fit for you, have this other career that you like and are opening up a business for yourself.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Well, so first off, I'm a serial entrepreneur and have been since I was about 10. And so it's like, okay, I came down there to help out my buddy, but then I'm going to dinner. I'm meeting with insurance adjusters and finding out what they're doing down there and start networking. And then I realized, well, if I could get this under contract, I could sell that contract. That was my initial piece. So then I was like, okay, I can work during the day and do manual labor and have fun, and then go to dinner and meet a bunch of people, and then try to start figuring out, okay, I could sell this paper because I understood from being, just in the business world of and having successful parents that like not all thing has to be cut and dry. And so I can do multiple things at the same time. So I was like, well, if I could get this paper under contract, I can sell that to somebody else and take some money. So that was kind of my wholesaling, bird dogging kind of experience where I was just like, hey, let me take this property where I'm working next door to it and I know that it's distressed, but I know I can get it at a discounted price and then sell it to somebody else who's going to be able to restore it. So that was kind of my launch.
So you were doing wholesaling. Where did you learn about assigning contracts down there?
It really came as an idea as I was sitting at a dinner table with a public adjuster, and I said, "Hey, how would I sell off this property to somebody else?" And he was like, "Oh, well, you need to fill out this contract. You need to put right here as assigned as, and then you need to get a title company." And so it took me on my path to try to like figure this thing out. This was early 2000s, so there wasn't a lot of information out there. I think Oh, there's a handful of gurus that were selling programs via DVD and maybe even cassette tapes, but I didn't buy any of those. I just kind of heard about them. And so I was just trying to figure this out on my own. And I just had a good mentor that I'd made friends with that kind of showed me a contract. And then I used that same contract for like 4 years and took down
Wow.
probably around 60 projects or 60 properties during that time period. And I
Right.
just rinsed and repeated it.
That first deal, Nate, what was the process like for acquiring that? Where did you find that lead?
Yeah,
What?
it was literally next door to a house that we were remodeling. And the customer, I went over there to sell them a remodel, right? And I was like, their house is all destroyed. And I was like, we could fix it up for you. We could make it all new, nice and new and all this. And she was like, I just want to get out. I want to leave. And that's when the light bulb went off. Like, well, if she wants to leave, I know that information. The other guys don't know that information. So I said, well, how would I buy it from you? And she was like, you want to buy this house? I'll sell it to you super cheap. And I was like, I heard cheap and I heard you want to buy it. So I got to figure it out. So I went back and I figured out, how to get the contract. And I went back over to her. And this was back way early on. So I think I bought it for like $88,000. Small little house right on the beach. I turned around. I mean, it was just basically a shell. Everything on the inside had to be gutted. Um, but that property is probably worth $3 million today.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
yeah, and I picked it up for like 80, and I remember I only put $100 down a title, and I flipped the paper and I sold it over to the guy who was trying to help me, and anyways, I made 10 grand on the project that day. Took me less than 4 hours involved in making the deal happen and going to title company. I got a big old check. It was more than what I'd made that week working. And I was like, well, I can do this and I can do that. So I was doing both things at the same time, but it was an eye opener for me.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So from there, it's like proof of concept. You see this
Yeah.
works. You say, okay, wow, this is totally new. I'm revitalizing these homes, but this was something totally different. How much of your time from there on out was spent actively looking for those type of leads, or was it more you were doing this other work and you would from time to time stumble upon these opportunities and you were
Yeah.
ready to seize them?
Yeah, it wasn't a full-time job for me. A full-time job was doing what I was enjoying doing, which was creating and building and restoring. That was what I was passionate about. But this was just extra side cash that kept coming in that would float other projects or was able to help me expand into my construction business. And so as they kind of came up, I would just take them down. And I wouldn't spend maybe 2 hours a week. I might knock on some doors. I might look around. I might ask somebody or it come up in conversation. Do you know anybody selling a property here locally? Because I ended up going and storm chasing for 5 years. And so I was bouncing around to all these different areas and I just rinse and repeat that same conversation. Um, and that's kind of what put me on what I was doing. I got up to a point where I had about 35 properties and then 2008 hit and that was a whole other story. But it was a good run.
Okay, so organic growth with wholesaling, continuing to do revitalizing. You have your own personal portfolio. At this point in time, sounds like maybe mid to late 20s.
Yeah,
Mid to late 20s. So, and early 2000s?
yeah. Early 2000s, like 2001, all the way up through 2008 was up to this.
I can only imagine you must be feeling like $1 million. Like you must be feeling like I'm in the Keys, I'm young, I have my company, I have a real estate strategy that I don't see a whole lot of people doing, and basically this is great. And then 2008 hits.
Yeah,
And so what was that like for you?
it was stressful. 2008 was a weird time. It's like you had more property. I had more properties than what I could afford, right? And I had tenants that weren't paying. So I had to like start making some decisions, and nobody wanted to buy anything that I was selling. I had a few of them kind of go into foreclosure. I ended up, finding a guy out of Austin, Texas. His name was starts with a C. I'll think about it in a minute. But anyways, I found a guy. He was specializing in helping investors, you know, reevaluate their portfolios and helping them with the banks to kind of get back into good graces. And Alex Sharfin is his name. And great guy, had a lot of knowledge, and I just kind of followed his process, and I ended up surrendering over most of the properties. I kept a couple, but I surrendered most of them back over to the bank. Um, took losses, but those were the lessons that I had to learn at that point in time.
Wow. So I can only imagine this had to hurt, as it does for all the real estate investors that I talk at this point in time. You go from the high of the high to now feeling like, wow, this is a huge burden. How do I get myself out from underneath this? So
Yeah,
with that, you're still young. Like you've done all of this while still being young. People could do all of this, and I have had many people talk about this with families and so on and so forth. So in a sense, uh, probably grateful that that happened when it did happen. From there, do you stay in Florida? Do you regroup?
no, at that point I'd already moved back to Dallas. I already
Okay.
moved back to Dallas. I already started having some kids and married and living life back here. I traveled around through Florida, most of the Southwest, Southeast, everything from Arizona all the way over through Florida. So I just kind of bounced around. I'd opened up offices for my restoration and remodeling company in like 7 different cities, and was running it out of Dallas. And then 2008 hit, and it started to slow down, not only the restoration pieces but the remodeling, new home construction, and then I had also all my rental properties, and so I was dealing with trying to juggle through a lot of that all at the same time.
Wow. Okay. So throw family in the loop, throw multiple companies in the loop. What's the next couple of years look like? So 2010, 2011, 2012, things are improving. You're back in Texas. Do you start the process over again, or are you way more cautious this time and pivot a bit?
I got out of buying real estate for about 5 years. So I stayed out of purchases. I focused more on the restoration business because the restoration business was a recession proof business. I would get a bunch of my phone calls and projects coming in through the insurance companies and through different companies that I had made relationships with that were self-insured, and processed most of those projects through there. That's what kept me alive and kept me afloat, was that I had something else other than just, real estate that I was focusing on. I got together with a bunch of real estate investors and kind of became an expert for them and coached them through the purchasing, because around that time we moved into, so 2008, the start of the crash. 2009 was really hard. 2010, nobody was buying anything. 2011, real estate groups were starting to bring out the bank owned properties and
Mm,
starting to do short sales. And during that process, they were looking at evaluation of like what's wrong with all these projects, what's wrong with all these apartment complexes. And they've been in disarray and haven't been had any maintenance done for years at that point. So I ended up contracting with a bunch of real estate investment groups and going out and doing evaluations. And on some of them, I got a percentage of the deal. I get a small portion, just to kind of help navigate their buy, and then I get paid on the back end when they sold in 5 years. So I was
okay.
doing that most of 2010 and 11 and 12. 2013, I got back into buying and holding. Um, that's when you can still buy something at a reasonable price here in Dallas, anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, you can still find a 3 bedroom, 2 bath for under 200,000. Now you can't do that,
Cannot.
but and it was great, and I held on a bunch of those properties until 2019, and then sold those off for some substantial cash and kind of kept going.
So that gives us a lot of context there. You experienced a rebuild. You've now done it twice. You have to feel at this point bulletproof in a way, because you said, okay, I saw the worst of the worst effectively in Florida.
Yeah.
Everyone was, blood in the waters type of deal. I've now rebuilt it back again. Fast forward to today, bring us up to speed to today, 2025. What's business like today?
Well, I still have my restoration business. I still have my remodeling business. I still have ground up building. Um, I've got some other certifications and classifications that I can kind of go and do things. But I've moved into doing BTR stuff and doing ground up development. Those are the things that I like doing the best.
So that's new builds effectively.
Yeah, I like new builds. They're quicker, they're faster, they're easier for me, right? I have a construction background, understand construction science to the fullest. So for me, picking out the land, being able to do the development, put in all the utilities, do all the grunt work that nobody else likes to do. Most
Yeah.
most investors like to do the pretties, right? Then you've got a small percentage of investors that like to do the uglies, right? Dirt work is one of those ugly things that you got to do it right. You got to know what you're doing. Nobody wants to do that portion of it. They just want to buy the lot after the dirt work's been done, after the zoning's been done, after all those pieces. But those are the things that I like doing.
Okay, so this is a totally new subject to me. I'm not in any way someone who has any exposure to this. I've on some level participated in demo work on fix and flips, but that's it. And I've
Yeah.
seen where things can go wrong. I was actually at a flip in Denton where we took up the subfloor and there was a crack in the foundation. somehow this was made worse with plumbing work and they needed to foam the floor. So that was the first time that I'd seen this. But I was also able to see how once you start looking at these things, it quickly escalates from there, depending on what
Sure.
happens. So when you talk about groundwork, what are some of the complications that come up, if there are any, and what is it about it that is perhaps, unappealing to the average investor?
Well, they start getting into more scientific issues, right? Like soil testing,
Mm,
knowing what soil is there. Was it on a riverbed? Was it a loose soil, stable soil? Are you building on rock, right? All these things have things to do with when you're starting to put in roads and you're starting to put in utilities and undergrounds, right? So understanding, how you're going to build out a 40, 60, 100-acre subdivision and understanding where those streets are going to go, where the river water runoff is going to be, where the utility lines are going to come, and how everything's going to be plumbed in. It's not pretty, right? It's more analytical. It's more um, kind of science based to be able to kind of make sure that you're putting things in the right perspectives.
yeah.
So if not, if you do it wrong and you have water runoff and you flood out a house, the developer is at fault, not the house,
Mm.
right? So you want to make sure that you have retention ponds, retaining walls, all your structures kind of set up so that you can do it appropriately.
So in building out subdivisions, Nate, I'm imagining, there's kind of probably a handful of people who can do this, but once you do one, it becomes significantly easier to do it, rinse and repeat, because people see, okay, this person built out that subdivision. Let's bring them onto this project. So was that effectively what you saw in your growth? You had a subdivision. This became the one that you built out initially, and then you had organic growth from there.
Kinda. I kind of take it back. One of the things that I kind of created was trying to work with home builders, right? And so one of the things that I did was I did warranty service repairs for home builders underneath my construction company. So when I was doing that, I got to work with 20 to 25 of the top home builders in the country and their subdivisions and learned how they laid them out, learned how they did it, got involved in planning, got involved in helping them develop the plans. And from there, I grew and gained the knowledge that I needed to be able to step out on my own and do it myself.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I just jumped into it, you know, just off the end of the pool. I kind of learned and watched and paid
An
attention and
apprenticeship of
contributed.
of a kind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So for folks who are wanting to get into this space, it's a niche space, right? Building out subdivisions.
Sure.
Um, I've always said this to people. If you want to be in real estate, you have to have two skills. And I've said this on earlier podcasts. You've got to have a kind of entrepreneurial neuroplasticity, if you will. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to adapt your lifestyle
Sure.
day to day.
Yeah.
And you've also have to be like guerrilla networking. Like it's too much for a lot of people. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Put yourself out
Yeah.
there all of the time. And I had a guy who was a stockbroker who ended up becoming a capital raiser in the commercial real estate space tell me, look, if you want to raise money, you just got to tell everybody what you're doing. I'm like, everybody? And he's like, everybody. And I was like, well, I don't
Yeah.
know, that could frustrate them. He's like, do you want to raise money or not? And I was like, wow. And this is a guy
Yeah.
on the podcast, So I heard that and I was like, okay, I have to actually think about things differently. And so hearing your story, it parallels that because you've had your business grow and scale in a way that really wouldn't be possible if you weren't seeking out these different opportunities for education, for, hey, how do I build out
Yeah.
a subdivision? And then from there, getting multiple.
Yeah. I agree with the other guests, right? You have to be tenacious. You always have to be going out there and learning and kind of putting it out there. I've never been one of those guys that just put all my eggs in one basket and that's my only source of income. I get it. A lot of real estate investors they want to leave their W-2 job to then transition over into just being full-time investors. I've just seen too many of them fail because they don't have anything else going on, or they're not. branching out, or they're just staying in the same pond instead of getting into a different pond or getting to a river or getting into an ocean, and they learn from the same people all the time instead of expanding out. I diligently try to kind of like find different groups of people that I've never been in and step into those rooms and have intentional conversations. And I think that's important for any aspect of business, right? Because no matter if you're a real estate investor, a construction worker, an IT person, a stockbroker, it doesn't matter. You have to step into different rooms and talk with different people because you'll gain different conversations and you'll have different insights to what's going on.
Yeah, Nate, to your point, those strategic relationships, you have to be intentional about it. They're truly not going to fall in your lap. I've had to pay to get in some of these rooms, and I'm glad that I did.
Sure.
And at the time, it seemed like, wow, this is a new concept to me. But if I didn't do that, I would not be sitting here. I would not have gotten into real estate wholesale, would not have gotten a real estate license. I would have still been selling cars working for Nissan. That's just the truth. But Nate, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks
Sure.
go to get a hold of you?
Sure. If you want, look me up through my restoration and construction company. It's grspros.com. GRS Pros. You can find that on all the social media handles. It's probably the quickest, easiest way to get a hold of me or get a hold of my team, and they'll get a hold of me. And I'm here to help. My whole mission in life now is kind of looking at giving back, trying to help and raise young entrepreneurs, and just kind of be a guide.
Amen to that. Nate, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for giving value to our listeners, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.